Hey, what's going on? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. Thank you for stopping by the State of the NFL podcast. I ask that you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. This is a channel where we talk about some of the hottest topics in all of the NFL. Christian Wilkins has been released, unfortunately, by the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders release him after only 1 year of Christian Wilkins signing a 4-year, $110 million deal. And it all kind of stems from a misunderstanding, a disagreement of how he should have approached the rehabilitation process. Week 5 of last season, Christian Wilkins goes down and he's not seen again. He starts the season on the PUP list ahead of Raiders training camp. And then all of a sudden there was talk about him, doing rehab. They couldn't agree. So the Raiders end up releasing him and they ended up voiding a $35 million contract that they had with Christian Wilkins. Of course, he is trying to, dispute that. But in the meantime, the Raiders are standing on business. As a matter of fact, this is a statement from the Raiders. They say, "We have decided that it is in the best interest of the organization to move on from Christian Wilkins, and he has been informed of his release from the team. This franchise has a commitment to excellence on and off the field, with no clear plan in place for the future return of Christian. This transaction is necessary for the entire organization to move forward and prepare for the new season." I kind of stumbled across that. I paraphrased it a little bit, but y'all get the idea. Christian Wilkins has been released because the Raiders felt like, he wasn't, standing on business when it comes to the rehab. And guys are kind of skeptical when it comes to the rehabilitation process. They're wondering, are those team doctors doing what is best for the organization or what is best for, the player themselves? I mean, I could think about a couple of years ago, wide receiver Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints, wanted a second opinion, wanted a outside source, kind of prolonged a process of rehabilitation when it came to his ankle. It turns out that he actually needed surgery, but there was a lack of trust between the team doctors and Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas wasn't very happy with the team doctors, so he decided to go out, and it seemed like the doctor that he talked to gave him a little bit of information that just said that maybe he just needs to rehab it. But of course, like I said, you see that from time to time when guys try to go out and find second opinions, and Christian Wilkins seemed like that's what he wanted to do. But this gives the Raiders the right to void his contract because, of the rehabilitation process. There were plans in place and language inside of his contract, and it just seems like I guess he failed to, follow up on it. But once again, he files a grievance, Christian Wilkins, with the NFL, so he's going to try to dispute that. It's unfortunate that the Raiders and Wilkins couldn't get some level of understanding when it comes to it. He's a very talented player. Even though he would have to pass a physical and according to sources, he's not all the way there. Teams are going to try to wait and, sign him. They're probably going to have some teams that may be even, considering signing him, even though he's dealing with an injury, because he has that type of talent. Now, he's up there in age. I believe he's like 29 or 30, but he still has a lot of football left. I like his energy. I like the way that he plays the interior position. He has a mean, nasty disposition, but he's about his business. And the Raiders, I have no issue with that, man. You got to be about your business. You got to be able to stand on it sometimes. And the Raiders, just like the Jets, which I alluded to in the last video, they are trying to change a culture here. They bring in Pete Carroll, who has a really good reputation of being a player's coach, allow guys to be who they are. And that's why I feel like it's such a disappointing situation, because I really feel like Christian Wilkins would have been a Pete Carroll type player. Those times where Pete Carroll was in Seattle, those physical practices that he used to have, having guys on a team with big personalities and not telling them to taper it back. And Christian Wilkins is one of those guys that has that big type personality. And, I just think that it would have worked with Pete Carroll. But unfortunately, we know that football is indeed a business. And sometimes business can be cruel. We see what's going on right now with Michael Parsons. We see what's going on with Trey Hendrickson out there in Cincinnati. So, this is a tough situation for the Raiders because, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a look at their depth chart. I mean, you have some guys on your team. Of course, you got Max Crosby, who just signed a contract extension, one of the best in the league. But, there's a lot of young, inexperienced players on this Raiders team. And, having a guy like Christian Wilkins, even though he was going to start on the PUP list, just having him out there and knowing that the cavalry is indeed coming in a few weeks is a plus. But now you have to have guys like, Adam Butler to step up, guys like, Hemingway. These guys are going to have to step up and make some plays here. And, it's a huge void. Now you have Jermaine Pratt who can, help you on defense. He was a guy who came in from the Cincinnati Bengals, tackling machine, go alongside Mad Max. But, to have somebody, on the interior that you can trust, one of the best in the league, I mean, his presence is indeed going to be missed. But, the Raiders have some bright spots, and they're trying to do some things out there. And I trust Pete Carroll. So Pete Carroll has had a reputation of taking guys who probably aren't household names and turning them into some very, very credible defensive players. So this is going to be a tough task for old Pete, but I think he will be up to the challenge. And I don't think that Christian Wilkins will be on the street very long.